Namaste. So today, whole day we will be learning something about the Vedas. If we look at all the different kinds of scriptures that we have in Indic tradition, so it starts with the Vedas, which are known as Shruti. Known as Shruti. Then we have smritis, we have itihasas, we have Puranas, we have Agamas, we have darshanas. You have Shruti, smriti, itihasa, Purana, Agamas and darshanas. These are the different scriptures that we have in India. If anyone wants to learn about what was the world view, what was the deeper spiritual realizations, and how did the ancient Indian seers and sages arrived at the truth, and how did they explain the truth of this existence, one's own existence, the existence of God, the existence of this world, existence of the soul. So one has to refer to these scriptures. Shruti stands at the summit. The name Shruti is given to the revealed scriptures because it is heard. Sometimes it is explained as because it is passed on from generation to generation through oral tradition, so the name Shruti, because one speaks, the other one hears and remembers. But the deeper significance of Shruti is that these are the words of the truth which were revealed or which were heard. Therefore, the seers, the Rishis were not just drashta, they were the shrota. Rishayah satya shrotarah, satya shruta, satya shrotarah. They were the hearers of the truth. So the truth which is revealed in the Vedas, they were the truth which were heard directly, the voice of the truth heard directly by the seers, by the Rishis who lived always in a higher state of consciousness. The smriti is something which is not direct hearing of the truth, but remembered. For example, what makes the difference between Shruti and Smriti, let me narrate you a small story. After many years of Mahabharata war, one day Krishna and Arjuna, they were sitting and chatting with each other, and Arjuna asked Krishna that, you remember when in the beginning of the war I was very depressed and dejected and I had decided not to fight, and you told me something very beautiful which had the power to arouse in me my power, my kshatriya shakti, so I could get up. I was delivered from my delusion and I could get up, fight and came out victorious. Those words of yours, the teaching of yours was very nice, but I have forgotten it. Can you repeat it to me once again? So Krishna says, Arjuna, how can you forget this teaching? Anyway, you have forgotten it and you are asking me to repeat it again to you, but let me tell you very frankly, it's not possible. When I spoke to you, I brought down the teaching from the highest state of my consciousness. Param hi Brahma kathitam yoga yuktena tanmaya. I had spoken to you that time, Param hi Brahma, the supreme teaching, the supreme words, yoga yuktena chetasa, by being united with the highest consciousness of mind. It was a direct revelation from the highest state of consciousness coming through Krishna's mouth to Arjuna. You have forgotten it, but I have not forgotten it. Though I can't, this teaching that I am going to repeat to you, I'll be repeating it to you from my memory. It is not a direct descending, the words descending directly from the highest consciousness which happened in the battlefield. So there, once again, Krishna repeats his teaching very briefly to Arjuna. So you can just make a comparison between these two, that the one that was given to him in the battlefield was Shruti, and the one that was given to him later is smriti. And also the smriti refers to the codes of conduct of a particular time, of a particular community, okay, for in a particular place. So the smriti differs from place to place, time to time, and person to person. Sthana, kala, and patra. So when we come to smriti, say Manu smriti, Yajnavalkya smriti, Harita smriti, Parashara smriti. So most of the times we hear about people fighting about, oh, this is what Manu says, this is what Yajnavalkya says, rubbish. How can this be like this? But we forget that Manu or Yajnavalkya or Parashara or whoever is the smritikara, whoever did the smriti, he did it for which was applicable for that community, that particular point of time, or for that particular place. So it differs. So in smriti, the temporal aspects are maximum. Because a code of conduct which was created, which was meant for that particular age, particular time, particular community. Sthana, kala, patra. One has to keep that in mind. And then interpret. So that is why Sri Aurobindo, in the beginning of his essays on the Gita, he says, so most of the times we think that my scripture is the greatest scripture. Other scriptures are either just opinions or ideas, but they are not the ultimate truth. And also, like in the scriptures, we try to seek that everything that is spoken in the scripture is ultimate. He says all scriptures, because the scriptures emerge in a particular time, in a particular place, for the purpose of a particular community. So there's bound to be something of temporal value and something of eternal values. But the Shrutis, you speak of the Vedas, Upanishads, Gita, there one finds maximum of eternal values, minimum of temporal values. In the Smritis, it is maximum of temporal values and less of eternal values. So while interpreting, one has to take care of this. For example, like when we read the Ramayana and Mahabharata, someone asked me that I have been teaching Ramayana and Mahabharata. Of course, these people, they teach Ramayana and Mahabharata by going through the translations, English translations done by someone, not reading the original. So she told me that, I find it very difficult sometimes, and I find it not difficult, I find it very awkward that there are so many events, so many characters which were wrong in their attitude, which were wrong. Rama was wrong in these cases. What was the fault of Ravana? And so many questions as usual, like the person is teaching at IIT and they have this kind of mentality. So this is what they spread, that Ramayana is wrong, Mahabharata is wrong, so Vedas are wrong. This is what they teach. So I asked her, tell me one thing, which version of, have you read Ramayana in its original? She said, no, I don't know Sanskrit. I read through translation. I said, read it in original, first condition. Then she is asking me, which version of Ramayana should I read? I said, any version. Any version of Ramayana you read. Then she says, there are so many interpolations. I said, I am not worried about interpolations. Interpolators never did a damage to the text. They added some beauty to the text. But the translators, later translators, they have done damage to the text. Or if you don't feel comfortable with the interpolated versions, you read the original version, the critical editions. It's fine. But first condition is you read it in original. The second condition is when we read Ramayana and Mahabharata, texts like Ramayana and Mahabharata, which were composed, which happened so many years before, so many thousands of years before. One thing which is extremely important is that one has to first go back and study well of the Yuga Dharma. Of the Yuga Dharma, what was the society? What were the socio-cultural, religious values of that time? And when we interpret through the lens of that, then everything is placed perfectly, is written perfectly. But if one wants to look and interpret through the lens of modernism, what happened so many thousands of years before, because the present set of values are different than the values of that time. So the ancient people, they never crossed their limit. They behaved, they lived their life within a limit. That was what called the Maryada. That is why Sri Ram is called the Maryada Purushottama. He never crossed the limit. Within the limit, he behaved what was right during that time. So when we deal with any scripture, the first thing is like we have to enter into the time spirit. Understand the values of that time, the society, the religion, the conducts, how the people lived their life. And then look at all the events and characters through that lens. So again, the Ramayana and Mahabharata or the Puranas or the latest smriti granthas, in all of these scriptures, there are many elements which are temporal. One should not give too much importance to the temporal aspects which are given in the scriptures, but must pick up the universal aspects and interpret it, try to understand those universal aspects, because the universal truth is applicable in all ages, to all people, and at all places. Okay. But then, it's not just the universal values presented, but how to live those values. For example, if our scriptures say, speak the truth, which is an eternal value, the speaking the truth, it also explains, but that is merely speaking the truth is not going to help. Mere speaking of truth is not going to help. There were many people who spoke the truth, but ultimately they had to suffer. They had to go to the hell, if hell exists. There was one person, Balaki. He was a tapasvi, he did his tapasya. His whole tapasya was to speak the truth. And when he left his body, he was taken to the hell. So he complained that whole life I spoke the truth. So why am I here? I should have been placed in heaven. Then he was reminded that he spoke the truth, but not in the right way, not with the right attitude. He spoke it very mechanically. And his speaking truth caused damage to many people. So there is no point speaking truth of that kind. So therefore our scriptures say, Satyam bruyat, speak the truth, priyam bruyat, and speak what is pleasant. Pleasant not to the senses, but to the soul. Okay. So there are many things which are pleasant to the senses. Here, priyam means not just what is pleasant to the senses, what is pleasant to the soul. Satyam bruyat, priyam bruyat. Ma bruyat, satyam apriyam. Never speak a truth which is unpleasant, where the soul doesn't feel happy. Ma bruyat, satyam apriyam. Never speak a truth which is unpleasant. And then it says, if so much stress is unpleasant, then it also cautions us, saying, Priyam cha na anrutam bruyat. He said, don't just speak what is pleasant but untrue. Priyam cha na anrutam bruyat. Never speak what is pleasant to the soul but it's untrue. Esha dharma sanatana. This indeed is the eternal rule, eternal dharma. Satyam bruyat, priyam bruyat, ma bruyat, satyam apriyam, priyam cha nanrutam bruyat, esha dharma sanatana. So at each step, when we study the scriptures very carefully, we see whatever injunctions are made, like speak the truth. It also says how to speak the truth, what kind of truth, when to speak, with what attitude we need to speak, and gives much importance to the attitude, to the consciousness from which one has to speak. This is where lies the significance, the greatness of our scriptures in building men, in building the nation, in building the age. Here, this is from Manusmriti. This is from Manusmriti. Now, one more point I want to make it clear here, that the Ramayana and Mahabharata, and there are few other texts like Yoga Vasishta, but mainly these two epics are known as itihasa. The word itihasa is usually translated as history. But itihasa is not history. There is a whole difference between itihasa and history. When you see, I can write the history of Rama, history of Krishna, or historicity of the Mahabharata or Ramayana. Anyone in the present time can write about that, what happened so many thousands of years before. But I cannot write itihasa of Ramayana, of that age. So why did they give this name itihasa? So what is itihasa? Is the author himself is a part of the story. He is the eyewitness of the events. Then it is known as itihasa. He confirms itihasa. This indeed happened. This indeed was. So you see, Ramayana, Valmiki is the author and Valmiki is a part of the story. He is the eyewitness to many events. Vyasadeva, writing Mahabharata, he is the eyewitness to the events, the characters. He is a part of the story. So it is called itihasa. But if I write or anyone else writes about Krishna, Rama, or any other event or character by being at this time, it is history, but not itihasa. So this is the beauty of the word itihasa. It's not history, it's itihasa. But for convenience, we're using the word itihasa. So we have smritis, we have itihasa, we have Puranas. The Puranas are narrative, literature. Through narrations, they bring out the truth of the Vedas and Upanishads in a language, in a manner through which it is more understandable. because most of the meanings of the Vedas or difficult passages of the Vedas, they could be understood through the Puranas, through the Gita. Even like if one wants to start reading or entering into the scriptures or trying to understand the Vedas and Upanishads, start with the Gita. Start with something there in the Puranas. At the same time, there is also a difficulty in understanding many events and many characters in the Puranas unless and until one understands deeply the Vedic symbolism. Many stories which are described in the Puranas will not make any sense. So this is where, when Sri Aurobindo, he was familiar very much with the Puranas, Upanishads, Ramayana, Mahabharata, never studied the Vedas before he came to Pondicherry. So before he came to Pondicherry, so by 1910, he had translated, interpreted all the Upanishads, most of the works, portions in the Ramayana, Mahabharata, most of the Puranas he had studied, Panini he had studied, most of the classical literature, Kalidas, Bhartrihari, Magha, Bharavi, Jayadev, all these things he had studied but had no acquaintance with the Vedas. So after 1910, when he came to Pondicherry, he had certain realizations of the Vedic deities, Ila, Saraswati, Mahi, Bharati, representing the higher faculties of the consciousness. So first he had the realization of these deities. And then when he came in contact with the Vedas, in fact, his acquaintance with Tamil language gave a clue to him to turn towards the Vedas, towards the Vedic language. Because there were many elements he discovered in the Tamil language. He had mastery over Tamil. Sri Aurobindo had mastery over Tamil. He has translated into English poetic translation of many of the Alvar songs and Tirukural and all this. A beautiful translation. Sounds like original, like mantra. So his acquaintance with the Tamil language and his realizations of certain Vedic deities, it caused in him a turning towards the Vedas. And when he studied the Vedas, then he said that most of the Puranic stories, the mythological stories, which made no sense to him, now started making sense to him because it's all Vedic in nature. So the Vedic symbolism had to be understood. So all these scriptures, Vedas, Upanishads, Brahmanas, Puranas, so one can start reading it, but they should not be read in isolation. They should be read in connection with each other. Then it becomes clear. And again, like after, when people start reading Sri Aurobindo, this is where I have found that even reading all these scriptures without Sri Aurobindo makes no sense. And reading Sri Aurobindo without the knowledge of Vedas, Upanishads and Purana makes no sense. So they are so complementing to each other. Many passages in Sri Aurobindo's writings, they become very clear like if one has the background of Vedas, Upanishads and the Gita. So nothing should be in isolation, separately. So when we start connecting these different teachings of the scriptures and study in relation to each other, so then the scriptural study becomes more interesting and more depth we can feel within, and the clarity of understanding comes by that. Then Agamas are various theological treatises, and mostly the name Agama is given to the Tantric scriptures. You have Shaiva Agamas, you have Vaishnava Agamas. So this Tantric philosophy, the Tantric vision, the Tantric rituals, the Tantric practice of yoga, the synthesis of yoga which is there in the Tantra, they are all outlined in the Agamas. Then we have the darshanas. So darshanas, they are more analytic in nature. By nature, darshanas are analytic. If the Rishis, they arrived at the truth by direct perception, by direct realization, by revelation. Here, it is more analytic. Here, question is put. If this is true, why it is true? So they arrive at the truth, the Siddhanta, through analysis. So various ways of analysis led to the various darshanas, different darshanas. So each darshan approaches to find out the truth of the Vedic teachings through a different path. So Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Mimamsa, Vedanta, Yoga, Sankhya, these are the darshanas. So mostly the Shruti, Smriti, Itihasa, Purana, Agama, Darshana, these are the important scriptures of the Hindu tradition or Indic tradition. Yes.
Is this chronological also?
It is? No, not chronological. I mean, there were Smriti Granthas during the Upanishadic time also. It's not chronological. It is the separate sections of the divisions of the scriptures, not chronological. Putting them chronologically will be very very difficult. You can have chronology in the Smriti Granthas. There will be older Smriti Granthas and newer Smriti Granthas. You can have chronology in the Upanishadic text, like Isha, beginning with Isha, which is the oldest, then later Upanishads. You can have chronology in the Brahmanas Granthas, if you look at the historicity, but not this way, Shruti, Smriti, Itihasa, Purana, because there will find many Smriti Granthas coming after Ramayana and Mahabharata. Yes. Okay. Many Puranas which are, are coming up to 12th century, Purana Granthas. Then many Puranas getting created in the vernacular language, not just, translation from Sanskrit, but there are original Puranas in the vernacular languages. Original Smriti Granthas in the vernacular languages. So we cannot put a chronology in this.
And also in the authors, so the authors of any of these, do they specify this? Now here follows the Purana, part of the Purana, or do they just write it and then later it is captured?
No, it is the colophon is there, like this is Purana, this is Smriti. So that's how we come to know that, okay, this is Harita Smriti, this is Vashishta Smriti, this is Padma Purana, this is Thala Purana, this is Nilamata Purana, this is Vishnu Purana, this is Garuda Purana. So, yeah. How? Yoga Vasishta is, like of the nature of Ramayana and Mahabharata, where Vasishta also was a part of the story. Because he was the Kula Purohit of Rama, of the Ayodhya.
One thing that I cannot recall. One thing is that Vyasa is writing the Mahabharata. He is telling the Mahabharata, Ganesh is writing. Sanjay is describing what is happening, so Sanjay is watching. And in that, because the Bhagavad Gita is a part of it. So in that Bhagavad Gita also, what teaching Krishna imparts, as you said, that he has forgotten. So the thing is that Vyasa is also in the story, he is also taking an active form. How do you reconcile this? Isn't it a movie within a movie where the director is himself involved, and then how do you say that it is a smriti? So the thing is that Sanjay is describing what is happening. So it's seen.
So how do I say?
Itihasa. So then how does it become a smriti? Because
this is not smriti. It is the itihasa. Ramayana and Mahabharata is itihasa.
Yeah, but then Sanjay is describing what is happening. So when Krishna is
like
getting that knowledge, Sanjay is also hearing that.
Yes, directly.
Directly he is hearing that knowledge. So what is
Direct hearing. Yes, see, if you within the itihasa also, there are Shruti elements, there are Smriti elements. For example, like if Sanjay is the Rishi, who is directly hearing the voice of the truth, and what comes through the mouth of Sanjay will be Shruti only. No, it is coming from the Vyasa, because Vyasa was also a direct witness to what was happening. Even when Krishna was speaking to Arjuna, the Vyasa heard it, Sanjay heard it, and Arjuna heard it. These were the three people who heard it directly. So they are the Rishi. So whatever they say is Shruti, because whatever they have heard directly, they are saying it. No, that portion will be Shruti. Yeah, that portion, because within the itihasa, within the Puranas also, you'll get certain elements which are Shruti Vakya. Okay, the direct revelation of the truth. So, but as a whole, the text is called itihasa. And within the itihasa, you will have smriti elements, you will have Shruti elements, you will have some agamic elements also. Doesn't it? Yeah, while going through the text.
In Sanskrit, Sri Aurobindo is speaking through Nala, through Yama, through Asuda. Is it the same way Vyasa is?
Yes.
Can it be like
Yeah. Okay. They are speaking it through these characters. Upanishad as Vedanta is Shruti, yes. Brahma Sutra and Gita, they will be more of, not of the Shruti, where do we place it? But still we can place it in the Shruti tradition, yes, as Shruti. They are not smriti or itihas, because they deal more with the Shruti Vakyas. Is a Nyaya Prasthan, yes. So that will come more with the Vedantic philosophical thing, but they are explaining the Shruti Vakyas. Okay. Yeah, so I'll come to that. When we had the Shruti, the Samhita part. When you say Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atharva Veda, the Vedic scriptures are of four kinds. The first kind of scripture, or the original scripture, original writings, or the words, they are compiled in the form of Samhita. They are compiled in the form of Samhita. So Samhita means the original text. Then there are interpretative texts which are known as Brahmana. Interpretative texts known as Brahmana. You have Satapatha Brahmana, you have Gopatha Brahmana, you have Aitareya Brahmana. There are so many Brahmana Granthas. So these Brahmana Granthas have nothing to do with the Brahmin community. Nothing to do with the word Brahmana in the sense of Brahmin. The Veda mantras, another name for the mantras was Brahman. The Veda mantras were mantras. One name is mantra, another name is Chandas, another name is Rik, another name is Brahman. Okay. So Brahman refers to the mantras. Belonging to the Brahman or related to the Brahman is Brahmana. Okay, so Brahmana Granthas means they are interpretative texts of the Brahman, of the Veda mantras. Now these Brahmana Granthas, they laid more stress on the rituals. They are the ritualistic interpretation of the Vedic mantras. Now there are texts which are known as Aranyakas. So first you have the Samhita, then you have the Brahmanas, then what you have is Aranyakas. Again, not chronological. Okay, after Samhita you have the Brahmanas, that's for sure. But Aranyaka and Upanishad don't put chronology because Aranyakas and Upanishads also form a part of the Brahmana Granthas. So these Aranyaka Granthas means there are portions in the Brahmana Granthas which were taken separately for deeper contemplation, to contemplate on those. Grasp those things in meditation. Hold those in the mental canvas mental consciousness. And in the solitude of the forest, deeper contemplation. So there, and these were done mostly by the Vanaprasthis, those who lived in the forests, in the solitude of the forest, they contemplated more on these texts. So those were known as Aranyakas. And in the Aranyakas also, you will find again portions which are deeper realizations of the Brahma Vidya. In the Aranyakas and in the Brahmana Granthas, and sometimes in the Samhita Grantha, there are portions which are of the nature of a Brahma Vidya. Now, Brahma Vidya refers to three things: self-knowledge, God knowledge, and world knowledge. Because everything was considered to be Brahman. In the Vedas, you find so many deities: Indra, Agni, Maru, Vayu, Vishnu, Rudra, so many deities: Saraswati, Ila, Mahi, Bharati, Mitra, Varuna, Aryama, Bhaga, hundreds of deities and hundreds of symbolic words. And all these different gods and goddesses in the Vedas, they were reduced to one concept. They were all reduced to one concept, that was the concept of Brahman. All the personal gods, personal deities, they were reduced to the impersonal Brahman. And wherever this impersonal Brahman, which is not Brahman alone, but the Jagat Brahman and the Atma Brahman. So the self, the world, and the God, the Supreme. So these three were called the Brahma Vidya. So wherever the texts in which the Brahma Vidya is more prominent, reflected, those portions were called the Upanishads. Upanishads mean, again we will be dwelling on this when we do tomorrow on the Upanishads. Usually it is translated as Upanishad. When sitting near the Guru, one receives the knowledge, but that may be like one superficial meaning of the word Upanishad. The deeper meanings of the Upanishad, the word Upanishad, we will be doing tomorrow while dealing with the Upanishads. So there are various definitions of the word Upanishads as the word is used in the Upanishad and in the Vedas. What sense? So we will be seeing tomorrow. Aranyakas, part of Brahmanas, part of the Vedas, or independent texts. There are a lot of crossing over. Yes. There are independent Upanishads also. There are, like Upanishads which are a part of the Aranyaka, or the part of the whole Aranyaka, and Upanishad part of the Brahmanas, Upanishad part of the Vedas. For example, the Ishopanishad is the last chapter of Shukla Yajurveda. It's the only Upanishad which is a part of the Samhita itself. Okay. And there are independent Upanishads also. Yes. Yeah. Upanishads. That portion was considered as Upanishads. Yes. Irrespective of where it appears or independently it appears. There are independent, yes, Upanishads. Yes, mostly there, yeah. Yes. In connection to the world and the individual. Individual self and the cosmos, yes, Ishwar. Everything. So that is what is known as the Brahma Vidya. Now this is what is the structure of the scriptures that we have. We have the Vedas, the Shruti, Smriti, Purana, Agama, Darshana, and there we have in the Vedic literature the Samhita, the Brahmanas, and these Upanishads, when we look very closely, are the esoteric significance of the Vedic symbolism or the Vedic realizations one finds in the Upanishads and Aranyakas, not in the Brahmanas. So the Brahmana Granthas, they are interpretations of the like certain historical aspects, certain stories in the Vedas, and the ritualistic aspect of it, the different rules and regulations of having rituals, which mantras have to be employed for which ritual, and when, the timing, all these things are the subject matter of the Brahmana Granthas. But the Upanishads specifically deal with the deeper realizations of the Rishis and the esoteric significance of.
So the essence of knowledge is still
Upanishads. Yes, Upanishad. So we come next to this particular word called the Veda.
Even Rig Veda is Anand Brahmana.
Yes, Rig Veda, the Aitareya Brahmana is Rig Veda. Every Veda has its own Brahmana Granthas. Every Veda has its own Brahmana Grantha. So now the word Veda, when we discuss about the Vedic literature, by Veda we mean these 4 scriptures. The Yajurveda, the Atharva Veda, the Samaveda, or the Rig Veda. But the Veda, in a general sense, means knowledge. The Veda means knowledge. And we are misled, we will be misled or mistaken or misunderstood if we say the Vedas are only 4 or 3. There is Tri Veda or Chaturveda. The Samhitas can be 4, but the Veda is actually 3. That we will discuss why 3. And the Veda is not something which is confined to these printed books, 4 books. These are the eternal words, the eternal truth, the realizations of the eternal truth. And the Vedas are eternal, and Vedas are living, Vedas are there at all times, at all places, and for everyone. This eternal knowledge. If all the books, printed matter, everything is, destroyed, but still Veda exists. Because it exists at a different state of consciousness. And it's always there. And it keeps revealing itself from age to age, from person to person, from place to place. It's not that only some thousands of years before there were Rishis to whom the Vedas revealed, and today there is no Vedas. There are many new mantras, new Vedas are appearing, new mantras are getting revealed to many who have raised themselves to that level of highest consciousness. So when we deal with the Vedas, we should have a very broad sense of the Vedas.
Are you saying people like Swami Vivekananda or Rishi or these kind of people, Vedas will get revealed through this kind of...
Yes.
And there will be more, it will be Einstein and...
Yes, can be. The eternal knowledge through whoever is ready, whoever has that preparation, or the eligible person through whom that eternal truth can reveal in whatever form, is the Vedas.
In my thinking, when I say that Newton is also Vedantic and Einstein is also Vedantic, that all Vedas got revealed or expressed to them as well as much as they got expressed to the Vivekananda.
We can...
Very wide say.
No, we can say it for sure, with certainty. If we can't say that all Vedas, maybe certain aspects of the truth, because no Rishi was complete in his realization. So, certain aspect of the truth, it gets manifest in certain forms through a person who has. So that is why they recognize that there is something supreme, there is a supreme reality, supreme authority, or the supreme words which gets revealed through them.
Because the ease to register was there, it got revealed to us.
That's the Veda. Yes, they are also the Veda, the eternal knowledge. So this understanding, we should have the wide understanding of the Vedas, Not just Vedas means these 4 scriptures.
So there is a possibility one day of Veda being wider religion, oneness in the Vedas, a universal religion rather than a Hindu religion.
Yeah, true, very true.
In that will be extent to Nicodemus were also revealed to extent. Those what is not useful to them. But each and every professor is university, they are doing some research. And by their research they are taking the field ahead. A little bit forward, and it is a boundary of that field. So some part of Veda is revealed to some other professor, that's why that thing is happening.
Some part of the?
Some part of Veda or some part of that divine knowledge is being revealed to any professor or anyone who is writing some research paper. Like if we make a statement for equal to mc squared for Einstein and Newton, then it could be also made for any other professor.
Not any of the professor. How do we, the something which has to be, like reconfirmed, that it comes in the form of a, like in a state of consciousness.
I think most professors don't reveal eternal knowledge. That's why it would be. I think Veda would require the revealing of eternal knowledge. If it is eternal, then it would.
See, something getting intuitively some flash, some kind of, thing is not the Vedas. It has to contain that element of eternal values in that. And it's a direct revelation which has the power to change. Which has the power to change or take forward the understanding, the evolution or any aspect of the evolution forward, a step ahead. So,
What is, I think, blind any discovery which we keep reading?
Not any discovery will be considered as the Vedas, because there are many things also in our ordinary life we keep discovering, or something happens in flash, or some revelations. Yeah.
See, there's not enough research yet on intuition. And research and intuition is in its infancy. But what I can also see here is different levels of intuition. And there would be a constant state of intuition where I have to rise myself to a level to meet myself and my knowledge and the God knowledge and the world knowledge. The rising is a different level.
Yes.
Definitely a state, but at a much
Higher level.
yet to be done.
Yes, at a higher level. So that's why most of the mantric poetry, or what is known as the mantra, they come from a overmind level, not at any other level of the mind. So mind has its own layers, starting from the physical to the intuitive, illumined, higher mind, overmind. Then beyond that is the Vijnana, the supermind. So most of the mantras, the revelations, they come at the overmind level.
I think when we talk about using the where any one of the other scientific grades knowledge is God, I think one of the key things that strikes me as a difference between what we are talking about as much as the Vedas and Puranic is described by that word technology. Because as the boundaries of science, we become bigger and bigger, new discoveries come with sort of conflict what was seen as truth earlier. In fact, equivalencey square is challenged by lots of theories of quantum mechanics. So it's not eternal in nature.
There may be even look at the Vedic truths also. They are also challenged by the later things. It can be challenged, it can be analyzed. So it can be, molded, deliberations can happen on that. But one more important point which need to be kept in mind while discussing about this, what is of that nature. So whether it is E is equal to mc square or this kind of discovery, so how is it going to make me realize myself or this Brahma Vidya in the context of the Brahma Vidya? Where lies its position? How does it explain the whole cosmos, the supreme reality, the self?
What I believe is that it exists in a mathematical case.
Can be.
It is not in model. It only means that energy is mass and multiplicity. Now, wasn't it there in the Vedas?
Can be, but there are many things. See, for example, no, that is also true. Now I'll say, for example, like you have many beautiful things which were revealed to Kabir Das, okay, or Tulsi Das, or there are many saints, many sages, whom some new knowledge which was discovered. But can't we say that those are not there in the Vedas? They're there in the Vedas. In the Vedas, like we say, like if you take chronologically, there are later texts also in the Vedas, mantras, later Rishis. So if you find that is why you find a repetition of many mantras in all the Vedas. So this is not a thing that whether it existed in the Vedas or not, but the very fact that maybe like it is forgotten or it is given a new form, like that. But in its nature, it is something it carries some eternal values. In its nature, it carries some eternal values. So in that way, we call it the Veda or the eternal knowledge. Okay.
The people like Einstein or when they had that eureka moment, but Vedic Rishis they have risen to the Vedic that eureka plane.
We can, yes, that is also another possibility, another understanding. They lived in that.
Sunday had the internet or plastic surgery existed. Those are the things which are to escape, to stay. But the thing is that if we go back to the Vedas, it was revealed because it was human knowledge that actually it was there. And now the thing is that we are very aware of it because of this media and the knowledge is being.
Now we see, one more explanation I'll give it to you. They all may be, like by nature, carrying something of the eternal truth. But what was restricted as the Vedas, as we like Samhita, or the Vedic text. Now if you look at Ayurveda, you look at all the darshana granthas, or all the like philosophers who were there. Even Panini. It's impossible like to have a text like this, however intelligent one may be, like with whatever level of science, technology or technicality one reaches, cannot have a text like Panini. It's like that. It was a revelation, one can say. Even in Ayurveda, you see, all the different plants, the amount of properties. The Vaidyas brought out the properties of so many hundreds of plants without any experimentation. There was no facilities like the facilities that we have, the empirical facilities, lab and this, that. But yet they could discover the exact properties of many plants which are working after so many hundreds of years or thousands of years. It's working. The whole science, medical science is dependent on these properties. These were also revelations. Intuitively they got into it. But still, these are not put as the Vedas. The Vedas were like what we call the Vedas. If we look at the nature of, like to whom it was revealed, the Rishis, and the nature of the mantras, the Vedic realizations were the result of much contemplation on the self, deeper contemplation. So that is why they were called Rishi, and in fact we will be discussing about it. A Rishi who had three most important qualities. He had the vision, He had the eye, inner eye. So he was called Drashta. He had that drishti. That is one of the qualities of the Rishi. That he could see the truth directly. The second quality of the Rishi, where he is also Srota. He had the Shruti. He had the inner audition through which he could hear the voice of the truth directly. And another important quality of the Rishi is Viveka. Viveka is that pure discriminative power through which he could discriminate and arrive and hold what is the truth. There are many things which one can see and hear, but how does one know that this is the truth? This is where the Viveka. Viveka is the pure discriminative intelligence which, so in the Vedic language it was known as Dhi. Dhi, simply D-H-I, long E, Dhi. This faculty was considered to be the highest faculty of consciousness, Dhi. Dhi had the power to receive, to discriminate and hold what is right and execute what is right. These were the four functions of the Dhi. Dhi had the power, this faculty has the power to receive in the form of drishti, through drishti or through shruti or through any form of, experience, feel. So it receives, then it discriminates to be sure what is right, what is the truth. So a Rishi knows for sure this is the truth because of this discriminative power. The Rishi, so that is why the Rishi Vakya is the ultimate, he is the authority. Because he knows this is the truth. He has no confusion about it. Because that faculty is highly developed in him, the Viveka. So it receives, it discriminates and holds what is right, what is the truth. And then the Rishi had the power to execute what is right. So that is why Drishti, Shruti, Viveka Sampanna Rishi. The Rishi has these three most important qualities, the Drishti, Shruti and Viveka. Yes.
There are two things. One is whatever is given in Vedas, so whatever was spoke before, whatever is written or compiled, that is one thing. Second is whatever gets revealed, try to different people. So, for example, let's say Ramanujan. So, a lot of mathematical equations are revealed to him.
Which were not there. That also, yes. In every field, yes.
These are true. These are not, you don't need to prove it, but these are true.
This is the truth, yes. That also will be considered as the Vedas. Yes.
Even the Rishis, they got the flash, and the discrimination was that I choose not to reveal.
I choose? Not to reveal what?
Whatever I see, whatever I realize, because that will be harmful to man.
Not necessary. The Rishi will be transparent enough to, give expression to his realization. Because, see, whatever reveals,
The application of which may be harmful to mankind.
why harmful? Why harmful?
May harm nature, or may everybody that
No, see, the truth may be misinterpreted. So that is why, it is, it has to be kept, safe. That is a different story. But the revelation, whatever comes in the form of realization and experiences, the very nature of experience or realization. Now the whole difference between experience and realization is that we keep experiencing many things, yet we don't realize. So experience, we call something experience like when it comes and goes. Like if I say I'm experiencing peace, so that means peace comes and goes, comes and goes. When peace gets settled in me, then it is realization. So I have the realization of the peace. It gets settled and it never goes. So if it goes, then it is an experience. When it gets settled, then I am peaceful forever, so then I am a realized person. I am Siddha. Because it's settled. A settled knowledge is called realization. So rest is, it comes and goes, this forms the experience. And the very nature of that, very nature of experience or realization or a feel, what a feeling comes, a thought comes, the nature of that is to get expressed in any form. It will be expressed. So either in the form of words or in the form of signs or in any other form, depending upon the temperament of the person to whom the realization comes or the experience comes.
Yeah. There are 4 attributes of Rishi.
3. Drishti, Shruti and Vivek. Yes. But then the Rishi, to arrive at this level where he has the Drishti, he has the Shruti, he has the Viveka, it needs a lots of sadhana, lots of preparation. It needs lots of tapas. One has to have that willpower, one has to have that sincerity, one has to have the shraddha, one has to have the sankalpa, one has to have the what is called the bahushrutya. Bahushrutya means many learnings, learning from many things, many scriptures, available scriptures, many things from the nature. So bahushrutya. So learning for a rishi, the learning is never stopped. It is an eternal learner. A rishi is an eternal learner. So he keeps learning from everything. Like we see the story of Dattatreya. He had 24 gurus. So from everything he was learning. From whomever he learned something and developed that quality in him, so he accepted him as his guru. It doesn't matter whether it is a dog or an ant or a crow or tree or anything. So a rishi is an eternal learner. And Rishi, if we look at the very root sound of it, Rish, it has something to see, it has something to do with movement. So basically movement, because Ru means Ru Gatau. So it is a Gati. Gati means movement. So a Rishi always moves or flows with the movement, with the harmony, with the rhythmic flow of the cosmos. So he is in harmony with the rhythm. He is in harmony with the rhythm of this universe, rhythm of this cosmos. He is in tune with the truth. He is in tune with the music of this creation, with the movement of this creation. He is never deviated. He is in harmony with that music, that rhythm, that chandas. And eternally, so as long as he is there. And Rishi is free. He is not bound by anything. He is free from the birth of cycle, or the cycle of birth and death. He is experiencing that eternal ananda because he lives in a higher state of consciousness. And whatever knowledge gets revealed to him, that becomes the mantra. That becomes the Veda for him. So, this is where we find the word Veda as the eternal knowledge. But there is something more to this word Veda. And here we will find out, like as I pointed out, there may be so many revelations, new discoveries, new inventions, new ideas, many things new keeps happening. And it's an ongoing process. And we see that development of the human mind, the human faculties, the faculties of the consciousness, the higher faculties, how it has evolved. So the very growth and development of the science and technology, it has reached a stage of perfection that shows the evolution of consciousness. That shows the evolution of consciousness, that it is moving very fast and has reached certain height. But there is one more thing which is missing in that evolution of consciousness, is what is not the Veda. So this is what we will see in the word Veda. Now the word Veda comes from this root sound vid. Now vid means so many things. Vid means to know. Like aham vedmi, I know. So Veda is knowledge. Simply Veda means knowledge. Vid, know. Vid also means to exist. Like you say, vidyamana, vidyate, sah vidyate, he exists. So vid means to know, vid means to exist. Vid also means to gain, vindate. So vid also is labha, to gain. Vid vicharane, we say like to consider. Vidwan, coming from the same root sound. Vid also means to feel, to tell, to dwell. These are the different meanings, but the three important meanings of the root vid is to know, to exist, and to gain. Vedmi, vidyate, vindate, these are the three important forms we get from vid. Satta, vid satta, to be. Okay. Now, vid meaning to exist refers to the pure sat, because it's the pure existence. Vid, vidyate. Vid to know refers to the pure chit, consciousness. Vid to know refers to the pure consciousness, chit. Because knowledge happens in the consciousness, chit. And vid to gain refers to the pure ananda. Okay. Why ananda? How can to gain labha refer to ananda? This has been again the experience, the realization of the Rishis. They say there is no greater gain than ananda. This is the highest thing to be gained. So the highest gain is ananda. Anandan na paro labha. This is the Upanishadic dictum, that anandat na paro labha. There is no greater gain than ananda. This is the highest gain. So in that sense, vid, to gain, refers to ananda. So the word Veda refers to Sat, Chit and Ananda. So Veda is Satchidananda. Veda has the power to help us realize the Satchidananda Swarupa of ours. So any knowledge can be called Veda, but in a true sense, if the knowledge cannot make me realize my Satchidananda Swarupa, my highest Swarupa, then it is not Veda in a true sense. Satchidananda is the highest self, which is called the Veda. So what I said is any knowledge can be called the Veda. Okay, because the word Veda means to know. But the Veda in a true sense is that knowledge which makes me, helps me realize my highest self as Satchidananda. So the whole purpose of the Veda is to lead us towards the realization of the Satchidananda Swarupa of ours, the highest self of ours. So this is what makes the Veda Veda. Rest is mere knowledge.
Is there a definition of happiness? When I say definition, it's interpretation of happiness in the great detail. This is what Ananda means.
Yes, we will discuss about that. Yes, very much. Okay, so do we? Yes.
The question I have was about the Ayurveda. Sometimes it says the fifth Veda. Is it part of it?
It is not part of the Vedas. It's not the part of the Vedas, but like it again, why certain things are considered to be like Mahabharata itself is called as the Panchama Veda. Ayurveda is also called as the Panchama Veda. Okay. Because there again one finds these elements which can help us realize ourselves. So wherever these elements are prominently found, they are also considered as the Veda, or fifth or sixth or seventh, the Vedas. They are of the nature of the Vedas. Essentially, like Samhitas are 4, but the Vedas, if we look at the Vedic text, the texts are like divided into 3 groups. Either they are highly poetic, or a mixture of prose and poetry, or meant for singing. So there is Rik, Yaju and Sama. Okay. And Atharva is a Samhita, but like from the it contains Riks. Atharva has Riks and Yajus mixed together. Yajurveda has maximum Yajus, means maximum prose mantras. Okay, or a mixture of prose and poetry. Rig Veda is pure Riks, pure poetry. You don't find prose portions. So from that angle, the Veda is 3. But from the Samhita point of view, the Vedas are 4. So Rig Veda Samhita, Yajur Veda Samhita, Sama Veda Samhita, and Atharva Veda Samhita. So all those who were, had proficiency on one Veda, they were called as Vedi, like Kiran Vedi. And there are Dvivedi, Trivedi and Chaturvedi. So these surnames were given depending upon like how many Vedas they had mastered or the Veda.
When Dvivedis, Vedis and Chaturvedis, how much responsibility the society must be expecting from them?
Yes.
They cannot live up to it.
Yeah.
This is
So that is why the Chaturvedi has become Chobe. And Dvivedi has become Dube. So that is what the distortion can do. So it turns the Chaturvedi to Chobe and Dvivedi to Dube.
Actually not distortion, it's actually more realistic.
Achha. So we take a break for 5-10 minutes. We have tea. Okay.
So, Atharva Veda belongs to religion.
It's a Veda. It contains maximum Riks and Yajus. It's a Veda.
But you said it already.
No, the type of mantras that you find in the Vedas, they are of 3 kinds. Either Riks or Yajus or Sama. Sama means melodious singing of the mantras. Atharva mantras are of the Rik and Yajus type. Okay, so should we take a break and have some tea and come? Silence.